I
Should
put it live just so you know.
Should I put this up there for Jim?
For Mary Beth, Lori Beth.
Laura, yeah.
How's your new year going, Steve? How's your new year going?
Be careful, we're live.
Oh, good, sorry.
Hello, Carol. Hello, Carol.
Oh, Michael,
How are you, Carol?
I'm doing just fine.
Hello, Chief. What do you got, the register there?
Yeah.
I don't know who I'm scooting behind. I don't know who's easier.
Well, probably would have been me if I was sitting down. Sorry, Michael.
That's quite all right.
No, I found the bump out.
Just trying to set everything in my car.
This is where I got the
Good,
binder.
good.
No, the black binder.
I started it early because
I know, you know what, I heard Black Binder and I had the agenda.
Well,
It's okay.
it'll,
I actually heard it.
but if I do it early, I'm sure it'll work just fine, you know what I mean?
I
Like
know.
if you wait till the last minute, there'll be a problem.
So I don't know if the,
Yeah.
village
That's what
needs
I'm
to pass a
thinking.
law for this,
Exactly, that's why I
For-
started it.
the stipend,
Lately,
Okay.
it seems to be working okay,
What?
the last couple.
and have him say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not that I want. Exactly. You
I
can't see.
brought this since you couldn't open it.
Oh.
This actually, the picture will be much better.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Cause you get the sense of the room.
Says by local law, ordinance, or resolution.
Actually be here and sit here.
And a lot of times when I'm sitting up there.
Looks, yeah, looks like it's a little bit longer.
Because I get
Yeah,
busy
it's
with
a
what they're
bigger,
saying,
yeah,
I
it's a
don't
bigger
switch
tanker, it was
the,
1994, guys.
The
Yeah.
views of the camera, so
It's a
what you
sister.
see isn't necessarily,
Oh, that's longer, sure.
cause I'm,
More
like,
water
I
too,
don't always change the view.
Mm.
Exactly.
but the original company just donated it into Pennsylvania.
That reminds me, I have a folder in the Cornwall Yacht Club, I should put that.
Looks like it's got a longer nose, too.
Probably got a little more motor on it.
It's a nice looking machine.
Yeah, this, what does it say? The script. It was originally delivered to Morganville Fire Department in New Jersey, and was donated to Hope Fire Company in Allentown and Freehold Townships.
People wonder why fire trucks like this get donated, is because they have no value when you go to sell it. Although that looks like it's in pretty good shape.
I would say that thing's in nice
Unless
shape.
that's the picture of it where it was delivered.
No, because it has, they've changed the wheels out.
Oh, yeah.
It's got,
Yeah, lugged.
lugged wheels. And did you see
Yeah, he's maybe gone through a refurb and well cared for.
Mm-hmm.
this was pretty good too, see if this comes up.
Yeah.
You see the tower truck in the ice?
Oh,
Yeah. Did you see it from the other angle?
Yeah. The woman standing outside.
Yeah. Then she starts laughing. I understand why she's laughing.
Yeah, nobody got hurt.
Yeah. That's what I said when I saw it. It's
Watching
amazing.
it just gives me the willies.
From what I understand, I don't know when
Yeah.
that happened. They said there ain't much damage to the fire truck.
Well, years ago, I went down River Avenue like that.
Probably some damage to the driver's seat.
Yeah, well, that's what they said, yeah.
I was going down River Avenue to load up the Salter, because everything was emptied. And I did a 360 right in the middle of that hill with the sander and the plow on, and got down the bottom of the hill, I was, didn't hit nothing. Gilmore comes up, I said, man, that was great driving, because it was behind me. I said, no, it was sheer luck, I was hanging on for dear life. Please don't hit nothing, please don't hit nothing.
I've never taken a ride like that. It's just sensation when you feel the wheels loose.
It is definitely a, whoa.
Last week I hydroplaned for about half a second.
Oh. Let me see it over. Right off.
Yeah, for me, here's how it came across for me. I click on it,
Not,
no, it comes up, couldn't load.
Oh.
And it was coming up, as a town of Cornwall thing. Pat Mahomes' newly built house.
whose is that?
Pat Mahomes in Missouri.
He doesn't have to worry about anything.
No, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 attached 5-car garage.
You know, when he,
Is that the guest house?
Yeah.
when he wins, you know, when he runs out of football, he's just gonna start collecting his money from the 25% ownership he has of the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah. Yeah. Doris, the tax levy resolutions, that include the unpaid water charges?
Yes.
Nice.
This is 19.
How did she get? I mean, I was just,
Hey, how are you?
you know, being that
Good.
age.
Oh, I guess she had experience from her time in high school.
What's up, gentlemen? Steve?
Good evening.
Annie? How you doing, buddy? What's going on? Charlie, how you doing? I didn't get a chance to call you back. How are you? I'm all right. How are you? Hey, guys. Good.
Happened again. Orders.
Go.
Yes.
Here we go. We used to sign the vouchers up here. We did during the meetings.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, somebody said, well, it may look like you're not doing anything, but we get them done. We got them done.
Uh-huh.
Doris doesn't remember that.
I don't wanna come to your office, 'cause I have to.
I don't think I was born yet.
We used to sign vouchers here right now
What was?
during the
This
meetings.
isn't the old one?
Oh, yeah, I heard, I did.
We were passing down.
Yeah.
Talk to your governor.
Jim-
Lay him out there.
Paula's told me
Jim
about it.
figured we had He thought we'd have undivided attention, so we don't do that.
Yeah. As if we're paying any more attention without, just so you know, the mics are live. We're live.
Oh, no, they have it, doesn't mean it's in service.
I bet it still runs good. The problem is parts. But something does break.
All right. Oh, man, I'm tired. Too damn cold for me.
I love
Trim
it.
it up a little bit.
You like it?
Yeah, I mean, this is New York. We didn't move to Florida.
Yeah, I know.
When in Rome, we do as the Romans do. I like it. Seasons.
Anyway. It's just hard
Yeah, you will be.
when I get up. It's
Brush cut, folks.
Bill, you can't.
No, my nose is cold.
Can't even tell that you're.
There's like an ice box in there.
I know.
From home.
And you didn't warm up my chair either, it's freezing.
Yeah, I walked from home to here.
Just now?
It's like cold,
Yeah.
right?
Uh,
Wasn't your chair cold?
Unacceptable.
I know. I mean, you're in here, you're not doing
I
anything.
decided to get lunch at Village, then I walked up home, I saw Dominic,
He's gonna go
he was
right,
walking out
He was
to the
good.
bank.
just
So, you know,
stand there,
walked up to the bank and
stand there.
Thank God they have him to do that dissertation.
Yeah.
Because people would be
Explain.
clueless. Yeah, he was really good.
Madam Clerk, do we have it? I know you sent
Is
them.
there,
You don't have
did you
minutes.
bring me one?
I
You,
did.
The minutes of.
No,
the
here,
meeting.
here, take it.
That's what I'm talking about.
you brought this for yourself.
Two of them?
No, I have one.
I didn't know I wanted one.
In the packet.
Looking better?
Just so you got like my vibe.
Yes.
Minutes to waiting to be approved
I
in
think
the.
I've had them before.
Oh.
How are you?
I emailed them, but I didn't.
Yeah, no, I got them, and
I didn't see it.
All right.
I'm trying to remain.
All right, sorry everybody for being
That
late.
one I
Everybody here knows the rules. We're live streaming right now, so keep in mind anything
and I
you say
wasn't
is
there.
gonna get picked up. Let's go ahead and stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, take your seats. Okay.
I wanted to take all of them.
Right. All right. I'm gonna make a motion to open the business meeting for the Village of Cornwall and Hudson Board of Trustees for Monday, January 22nd, 2024. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you to the village board for spending the last 1 hour and 3 minutes in attorney-client session. Thank you to counselor for shepherding us through it. I think we got some stuff accomplished in there, so thank you. All right, first matter of business is gonna be public comment. Anybody in attendance? Carol is giving me the shaking head, so I know that there will not be anybody, so no public comment. We will move on to monthly department reports. Okay, get to that. All right, treasurer's report. Everyone knows that we have a part-time village treasurer right now, Jean Mahoney, who has done a great job of stepping in and filling the void while we do not have a village treasurer, and has agreed to be here until April 1st and get us through the budget session. So actually, I gotta do the minutes first, right, Doris? I'm sorry. Yep, I'm sorry. I'm gonna make a motion on the minutes to approve the minutes from the December 18th, 2023 Village Board meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One recusal or abstention, because I wasn't here.
All right. I think that's a recusal, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's an abstention. I don't know. What is it?
I think it's a recusal. An abstention is when you decide to do it for personal reasons, but I think, yeah.
You have one of these.
Okay. And then I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the January 8th, 2024 Village Board Special Meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's 5 ayes and 0 nays. Okay, regarding the treasurer's report. The open utilities balance report for the end of December reads as follows. The village water, sewer, garbage, and penalties for a total amount of $487,160.16. Town water and penalties, $307,453.69 for a total of $794,613.85. Warrant number 1 is in the amount of $698,406.57, and monthly revenue and expenditure reports by fund are as follows. General fund revenues, $4,499,375.02. Expenditures of $4,588,761.98, with water fund revenues of $2,352,443.34, with expenditures of $2,144,444.74. Sewer funds revenue, $551,228.52, and expenditures of $410,983.48. Total receipts, $7,403,046.88, or 90.29% in anticipated revenues, and $7,144,190.20, or 87.19% in anticipated expenditures through the end of December. The balance collected for the sewer capital, $560,055.02 through December 31st. Moving on to board department reports. Building Department, Trustee Carnwright.
Okay. Village of Cornwall and Hudson, building report. December 2023, building permits issued, 10. Certificate of compliance occupancy issued, 6. On-site inspections, 21. Violations, 0. Stop work orders, 0. Municipal searches, 3. Solar panels, 6. Fire inspections, 3. Manny Carmona, Code Enforcement Officer. Thank you, Manny.
Senor, any changes from our conversation this morning? Anything to add to Trustee Carnwright's report?
No, nothing to add to the report, but as you and I discussed this morning, we're getting ready to do the 1203 report to the state, where we'll incorporate all this information that you read every month on the report.
Can you explain to the board exactly what that report entails and why it's so important?
It's extremely important. That's how the state monitors the municipalities in doing their code enforcement program, making sure that we're using the right codes, that we're doing the required inspections, fire safety, building construction inspection, complaints, enforcing the energy code, the building code. It's about 23 pages long on the report on different questions that they ask. They want to know how many buildings we have, how many different type of occupancy within the buildings we have. So it's very well detailed, and it gives a real good picture of the municipality within that report to the state.
What is the due date that has to be to the state?
No later than April 1st.
Will it be possible to have that report to the village board the month prior? We have that in March?
Most definitely. I believe I did that in the previous year. I definitely will get it to you prior to submitting it to the state, so you can take a review at it, and any comments, any question, I'll be glad to answer it for you before we submit it to the state.
Thank you, sir. Any follow-on questions for the code enforcement officer? Hearing none, moving on to the fire department, Trustee Paleota.
Okay. EMS call 4, structure fire, mutual aid to Woodbury 1, automatic alarm 6, odor, smoke 1, gas leak 3, MVA 1, electric wire hazard 1, flooding conditions 9, drills 3, 2 meetings, apparatus station maintenance 1, total events 29. Members of the Cornwall and Hudson Fire Department nominated and the Board of Fire Commissioners appointed Charles R. Quinn and Michael P. Traynor Sr. to the positions of Chief and Assistant Chief respectively. The members of Storm King Fire Engine Company Number 2 elected, and the Board of Fire Commissioners approved Thomas Traynor, don't know how to say his name, Capsack, and Charles T. Quinn to the positions of Captain, First Lieutenant, and Second Lieutenant respectively. Submitted, Charles R. Quinn, Fire Chief.
Seeing that the fire commissioners aren't here tonight, Chief, anything to add to that?
Yes. Last week, we lost our frontline pumper, the 20-year-old engine. It lost a steering box. Right now, it looks like it's gonna be out for 6 months because the part is on back order forever, nationwide. We did get a glimmer of good news today. We might have found the part, but we don't know that it fits the rig. But for the next 6 months, we're gonna be relying on the 30-year-old engine as our first due. And also, I spoke with village council today regarding the tax exemption for volunteer firefighters, and we're gonna get that back on track for approval by the board.
Chief, in your estimation, huge fire, let's think the worst. Let's say it's one of the apartment buildings or someplace, multiple dwellings. Can we handle it with what we have with that 20-year-old apparatus now?
So a big conflagration like that, no.
Mutual aid.
Mutual aid's gonna be coming in even with the, even if we had both engines
Would we
in
get the
service.
start on it and do what we needed to do?
Yes, so long as the second so long as the engine remains in service, it is adequate. It pumps what it needs to pump. The pump size is the same as the old one. The tank size is the same. It holds a full crew. It's a good engine. We're just relying on an old piece of apparatus now. It's a dependability issue.
All right, any questions for the chief?
Just it's 6 months you anticipate before we would be able to get the part, or what happens in 6 months that we'll be back to a full complement?
The Pierce, the manufacturer of the machine will be able to get the part and install it for us.
Any other questions for the chief?
And I, just as a reminder, last year, 2023, that the old apparatus was out of service for 3 or 4 months, waiting on parts for that.
35-year-old apparatus.
Yeah.
Okay,
But thank goodness we did the work then.
good. Okay, any other follow-ons? All right, hearing nothing, let's move on to the police department and trustee Brain.
This is the monthly police report for the Cornwall and Hudson Police Department from December 1st through 31st, 2023. There were 459 total calls for service. Fortunately, there were 0 felony calls, 0 arrests, and 2 calls for misdemeanors or violations for fraud or identity theft. On vehicle and traffic calls, there was 1 personal injury accident, 4 property damage accidents, 5 traffic summonses issued, 4 traffic warnings issued, 2 parking summonses issued, 15 traffic enforcement posts, and 2 speed or radar sign postings. There were 8 fire response calls, 1 domestic incident, 6 alarm response calls, 2 noise complaints, 6 suspicious incident calls, 3 animal complaints, 3 disorderly person calls. Under departmental assists, there were 13 assists to the Town of Cornwall PD, 6 EMS assists, 1 other agency, 1 other police agency, 2 welfare checks, and 3 citizens assists. During the month of December, the Cornwall and Hudson PD applied for grant funding through the DCJS Office of Program Development and Funding in the amount of approximately $5,820, which would be utilized toward the purchase of 4 brand-new AED units, automatic external defibrillators. During the month, the COHPD officer participated in Double Down December, where officers would grow out their facial hair and recognize and donate to a particular charity. COHPD officers made a charitable donation to the Cat6A Syndrome Foundation. This is a very rare genetic disorder. One of COHPD's family members recently passed away from this disorder. During the month of December 2023, all COHPD officers participated in TASER recertification training. The training was held at the police headquarters here in the village. During the month of December, COHPD participated in Orange County Stop DWI traffic grant enforcement. Respectfully, Chief Stephen E. Dixon.
Chief, anything to add? You want to give a quick dump to the, 'cause I think it's positive, and the board loves positive news in regards to what we're doing with the vehicle that we were looking that we had to replace, but now we're gonna do some repairs on it. You wanna let the board know about that?
Yeah, originally, when they first estimated the value of the vehicle, they did not include all the emergency install equipment, as such, so.
This is vehicle number,
428, so
which is a SUV.
2021, 2022 Dodge Durango.
And the accident on Mountain Road happened on what instant date?
During this, the snowstorm when we had the, close to a foot of snow, happened on Mountain Road. Horse lost control and there was substantial undercarriage damage. So we were fortunate enough to,
Thought it was gonna be totaled.
yeah, so we were able to work that out and now the vehicle will be repaired.
At a substantially less amount than it would be to have to replace the vehicle.
Correct.
So, okay. Any other trustees with questions for the chief? All right, hearing none. We will move on to the Department of Public Works. Who's up? Trustee Paleota.
December 2023. Trash collected for the month, 98.75 tons. Recycling collected for the month, 22.52 tons. Yard waste collected for the month, 100 yards. Routine maintenance performed on village vehicles. Roadside leaf cleanup continued. Cold patching of potholes. Yard waste collection has been suspended until spring. Village Hall decorated for the holidays. Town of New Windsor assisted us with hanging the lights on the tree at the bandstand. Notes, assisted police department with road closing for the new junior New Year's Eve ball drop and the ball drop at midnight as well, and cleanup after the festivities. I am looking to purchase a new computer scanner system for passenger and larger commercial vehicles with the cost to be shared among all departments. David Halverson.
Sir, anything to add?
What is the scanner system about?
Scanner system is something that allow them to test vehicles without having to take them into the dealer.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
we
talked
remember we
about
spoke
it.
about-
We
yeah,
talked
work
about it.
session.
Never mind.
So, yeah. Anything to add, David?
No, the stuff is, that we wanna add is in the agenda later on.
Got it. Any questions for Dave before we get to the resolution items, where I'm sure you'll have some questions? Hearing none, let's move on to the Water Department. Trustee Carnwright.
Okay, December 2023 monthly report. Monthly production, 19,614,000 gallons. Daily average, 633,000 gallons. Samples collected, 28 in accordance with our approved water quality monitoring plan. Treatment, repair chlorine pump at Jackson Avenue Water Treatment Plant. Black Rock Water Treatment Plant remains offline. Anticipation of system upgrades. Transmission and distribution, 42 utility markouts were completed. We performed maintenance on pressure regulating stations in town. Fixed a curb stop at 13 Grand Street, 13 Beatty Terrace. Water shut off at property owner's request. 72 Otterkill, 15 Grand, 13 Beatty, 23 Pine, 6 Curie Road, 175 Bayview, and 9 Carroll Terrace. Blacktop and topsoil, water main leak repaired at Maple Street, blacktop and topsoil leak sites. Meters, red commercial meters, 5 final water meter readings were completed, 36 residential water meters were replaced, 8 water line inspections were completed, 11 miscellaneous repairs were completed. Water meter project. The project is nearing completion with 52 total meters remaining to be replaced. $75 manual read fee will go into effect January 30th. Billing, at that billing. The consumer meter portal is now live for customers to register and access the water consumption record. Billing, we will be transitioning to full-size statement billing away from the current postcard style. Town and village billing cycles will transition into one billing cycle. Information regarding these changes will be mailed to all customers prior to full implementation in April. Respectfully, Michael P. Trainer, Senior, Water Superintendent.
Okay, Michael, anything to add? I think you covered everything this morning. Any trustee with questions for the water superintendent? Yes, sir.
Just if anybody's watching, or if anybody in the room hasn't registered, that URL for the online consumer meter portal is cornwallonhudson.my360-app.com/register. And if you're watching this on recording, I hope you rewind to hear that again. But yeah, I was just wondering where how people could get that, because it's really useful. I was a beta tester and I've looked at it since then and I enjoy it. It's great.
It's very addictive.
Yeah.
If you're wondering
I was
why,
using more water.
if you're wondering why the water superintendent looks so calm and serene right now, it's because he's preparing for Thursday night's water system meeting. So tonight, nothing can affect him or phase him. He's preparing for Thursday. All right, thank you, Michael. Moving on to New Windsor, Cornwall EMS. I will say this, I have I think it's 11 o'clock tomorrow, meeting at the Goshen 911 Center for the county. I think the county executive is holding a roundtable on EMS, of which I will attend, but I'm always happy to hear what's going on with our Cornwall EMS and obviously New Windsor EMS. And so with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Mayor Jim Kane.
Okay, Chief Biggs report for December 2023. With respect to personnel, 1 employee was terminated, 1 new part-time, they gained 1 new part-time paramedic, 4 new volunteers, and the employees had raises of 3.5% effective January 1st. With respect to operations, 460 total dispatches, 100% of the calls were covered. 330 patients were transported. The chief indicates that this was a record. 5,053 dispatches in 2023, which was a 30% increase over 2022. 5,179 incidents, 315 New Windsor 911s, 48 Cornwall 911 calls, 674 total for 2023. 11 of Village of Cornwall and Hudson 911 calls, a total of 137 for 2023. As for mutual aid, there are 86 mutual aid ALS standbys provided times to various locations for private transports or non-emergency transport for residents and / Army events. The average response time in New Windsor was 7 minutes 7 seconds, Cornwall 5 minutes 25 seconds, and Cornwall on Hudson 5 minutes 37 seconds. The Cornwall unit covered 16 calls in New Windsor. The New Windsor unit covered 7 calls in Cornwall and in the village. The state health department recertification was completed and approved. The new ambulance is in service. The surplus vehicle was sold to the Kingston Fire Department. Additional advanced care heart monitor was purchased, and this brings them up to 5 full sets of advanced life support gear. And finally, the New Windsor Community Board member will be filled this month, and 2024 ALS agreements were sent to surrounding agencies with a 30% increase in fees, and 2023 Medicaid report is in progress. Michael Biggs, Chief.
So Chief Big is not here, but I do speak to him quite frequently. I think if you read the news, interesting that both the city of Middletown and the city of Newburgh recently entered into agreements with Empress, which was the old Mobile Life, to provide ALS service to the city of Middletown and now the city of Newburgh at a rate of $700,000 per year. Obviously, they have, well, they may not have that much more, square footage or mileage. They do have more of a population, but again, we have a good agreement with New Windsor EMS. I think we're now entering into a space 18 months out from the next contract, because we signed a 3-year deal with them a year ago, July, so not July of 2023, but July of 2022. And that's something that the town supervisor and I will be engaging in very shortly to come up with a deal going forward. So EMS is in the news, as you would expect it is. Okay, moving on that, any questions? Sir?
Do you know how many ALS and BLS units that gets to Middletown or Newburgh?
How many that Empress provide for them?
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, yeah, I don't know if they do it by numbers, Jimmy, or if they just do what the response time is and they make available, but I don't know what they have available.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know much about it at all, but we're quite happy because here the gold standard is making sure that you respond to every call, which obviously Cornwall EMS does, and making sure you shave down the time of response, which they do a great job of. But yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. I'll ask Chief Big. All right, moving on. So any questions left on EMS for the village? No? Okay. All right, moving on to resolutions. So this weekend, normally I get visits here at Village Hall on a wide range and variety of issues. This weekend, I only had 2 people stop in to ask, why the heck are we raising the garbage rates? And some of the recommendations were, Jimmy, if you're raising garbage rates 5%, why not just pick up the garbage once a week instead of twice a week? And part of it was an education, which I didn't know before I was here, in regards to why we had to raise the garbage rates a pittance at 5%. And it's because the tipping fees, I didn't know what a tipping fee was either before I got up here, but tipping fees are what it costs for us to dump the garbage, the tonnage. So whether you pick it up once a week or twice a week, whether Mrs. McGillicuddy puts out 1 bag on Tuesday and 1 bag on Friday, or 2 bags on Wednesday, if you're only doing it once a week, it doesn't change the tonnage. So we had to make that increase by 5%. We built it into our budget, and we still stayed below the tax cap. So that's what we were looking to do. In regards to any other rates, water rates are the same right now. We're not changing the water rates. The town water rates are still $16 per 1,000 gallons, and the village's water rates are still $12 per 1,000 gallons. That is going to be a topic of discussion, in a way, on Thursday when the village and the town meet in this room at 7 o'clock to discuss signing of a historic intermunicipal agreement for the village to provide water to the town, and talk about exemption of water properties that the village own in the town related to property taxes and school taxes, and then talk about potential water sales as a way for us to raise money to reinvest into our infrastructure. So that's what that is. So without further ado, is there a resolution I need to pass on that, Doris, on the village garbage rate increase?
Let's just say per document, I guess.
Okay. Is there a Joe, is there a resolution on that? I mean, because I don't see a resolution.
Oh, just,
So to make that raise, do I need to make a motion to?
At least, sure.
Okay,
Make a-
so,
the following.
so how about this? How about, so I'm gonna make a motion that the village increase garbage rates by an amount of 5% for the,
Beginning, is it the fiscal
of the
year?
fiscal year, which begins on March 1st and goes until, next year won't be a leap year, February 28th of, no, this year's February 29th. Next year's February 28th of 2025. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I would just point out, I think in discussing this, the work session, just for the public's benefit, the tipping fees or the garbage rate is increasing by 5%, but the tipping fees have actually increased over the last, I forget what it was, about a decade.
13%.
Yeah, have gone up
Am I
higher
right?
than that, so we're budgeting for some of the additional costs. We're only passing on some of it to the ratepayers.
Excellent point, trustee Brain. I believe it was,
Raised the rate since the 18-19 budget cycle, I believe.
so 2018, 2019 was the last time we raised the rates. And as I recall in our last meeting, I thought you had said around 13% of an increase in the tipping fees. So we're gonna raise it 5%. Okay? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on to the next resolution, which is the tax levy. I'm gonna move to levy the total taxes and other charges extended and levied against each parcel of real property shown on the roll, prepared and verified by the assessor for the 2024 and 2025 fiscal year in accordance with section 88-3.3 of the Village Code and section 120-CC of the General Municipal Law. The village hereby relevies all unpaid fees for garbage and refuse collection. So allow me to make this following resolution and ask this village board to adopt it. Be it resolved that there be levied and assessed against the real property of the village of Cornwall and Hudson the following items for the village government and other charges for the fiscal year 2024 and 2025 with a tax rate of $7.71 per $1,000 of assessed value. General fund, total taxes for the current budget of $2,829,000. Delinquent water rents and charges of $99,880.84. Delinquent sewer rents and charges of $69,181.37, and delinquent sewer capital fees and charges of $4,769.18, with delinquent garbage charges of $39,090.07. This brings the total re-levy amount to $212,921.46, with total real property taxes and other charges on these rolls of $3,041,921.46. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
This goes to the county, right?
That's where the re-levy goes.
This is is this the re-levy or the levy?
This is the levy.
Yeah, so
Yes.
this is the, oh, okay, and then, yeah, so I'm a little,
And then what doesn't get paid beyond that then becomes the re-levy that we send to the county.
right. I think there's two different wordings here, re-levy versus levy. But some of these are delinquent, so this is the initial
Yeah, the
call for
delinquents
us.
would be
This is where we're
re-levies.
collecting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right,
The delinquents would be the re-levies.
right.
All right, I'm in.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5 ayes.
Now, just point of
Yes.
something, information, I guess. On when we just passed a moment ago, the village garbage rate increase, on that same memo, there's also the water rents and the sewer rate. I wasn't sure if we were planning to address those
No.
in today's meeting. Okay.
Yeah, no, because the water rates will stay the same, as I mentioned, unless and until the village board decides to adjust them. And I don't want to do that until the water committee has fully briefed this village board on what they think is a fair adjustment. So we'll keep them the same.
And the sewer
Unless
rate
and
remains the
until
same?
we're, right, unless and until we get an advisement from the water committee. All right, next item of business is going to be the budget approval. So this is the big ticket item for tonight. So this will be a resolution to adopt the budget for fiscal year commencing March 1st, 2024 and ending February 28th of 2025. Making appropriations for the conduct of village government and establishing the rates of compensation for officers and employees for such period. So I'm going to introduce this resolution, ask this village board to help me adopt it. Whereas the tentative budget for the year commencing March 1st, 2024 and ending February 28th, 2025 has been duly presented to the Board of Trustees for the Village of Cornwall and Hudson by the budget officer, that's me, and duly advertised public hearing has been held thereon. Now therefore be it resolved pursuant to section 5-508 subsection 4 of the village law that the tentative budget as amended and revised be and hereby is adopted as the budget, and all amounts set forth in statement 1 is required for the payment of principal and of interest on indebtedness be and are hereby appropriated for the objects and purposes specified, and the salaries and wages stated in the schedule of such budget shall be and are hereby fixed or at the amount shown therein effective March 1st of 2024. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The budget has passed.
Huzzah.
All right, congrats.
Just, I would just reiterate, so people understand that it was only a 0.20 increase, and that a home assessed at 200,000 would see an increase of $3.14 on their bill. So we kept well under the tax cap of.
Which I think was like 1.02%.
1.02%, yeah. And the other thing I just want to point out in regards to the budget too is the debt, and I always point this out because we were in years ago, it was
Periods
pretty
of
bad.
austerity.
Yes, severe austerity. So we're doing very, very well on the debt side. Just for residents' knowledge, with respect to long-term debt, which is 15 years, in this case, the EFC water debt, we've got about $840,000 left on that. The good thing on the bond anticipation notes, which are 5 years, this year we'll be making our last payment on the Black Rock water treatment plant. And then we'll also, next year in the beginning of 2025, we'll be paying off the last of the DPW equipment. So those two will come off as a debt. So the only debt we'll have on the band debt is Donahue Farm. And I confirmed this in talking to Gene and asked him the
When do
questions.
we pay
so
off the Donahue Farm ban?
That's a 5-year ban. So we're only, one year deep into it, so we've got another 4 years.
Couple of years, but still.
3 or 4
Okay.
years, yeah.
It's a small one, right? It was.
Yes, yeah, that ban is,
We
it's
put,
only 240,000.
we put a chunk down
Yeah.
on it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Okay,
so we're doing very, very well on the debt side. Just want people to know.
awesome.
One of the ways that we were able to avoid, certainly avoid exceeding the tax cap, but keeping to a very low increase was just through good luck and judicious oversight of the village finances, we were able to transfer some from the general fund to offset, not general fund, sorry.
Unallocated fund balance.
Unallocated fund balance. Unallocated fund balance. Just for the avoidance of increasing taxes further, and keeping a very healthy unallocated fund balance as a reserve as well.
And we had Justin Wood, who's our appraiser and who did the audit, who looked at everything and said that it was healthy, the number that we moved over to do that. So, good point, Bill, thank you, and Jim, thank you for that. Okay, so that's done. Next item of business is Village Registration Day. So the question that I got this morning at the superintendent's meeting was, why do we continue to hold a Village Registration Day? Because in the last 4 years, I believe we had 0, 1, 3, and 0. I pay attention to these things. We pay people to come here, they're elections workers, but we pay them hourly to come sit here in the Edward C. Moulton Jr. Village Boardroom to register folks. Now, the thing that you can register here is you can only register to vote in the village. So people that come here to register, it doesn't help you to register for state and national elections. Sir?
We're certain of that?
Yes.
We are certain of that.
100.
Yes. So that is a thing where we're encouraging people to come in. We discussed today, does it make sense to do that when a resident can walk in off of the street and ask to register to vote in the village, and we will help them right at the front desk? Here is my thought process. We're gonna continue to do it this year. We're gonna look at it, and then I wanna look at it across the last 5 years and see if next year, and maybe it comes back on me and the village, to message this better, because I always promote it before we're doing it, but maybe I need to message it better. But does it make sense for us to continue to do it if we're not getting anybody to show up? Now, I would argue, let's just make it available, but we are paying people to be here, we are spending taxpayer money, and we're not getting a huge turnout. So, anyhow, but anyway, for this year, unless the board disagrees, we are going to do it the same. And I want to get a sample set of the last 5 years, come back to the board before next year and say, here's what we got, does this make sense? So, with that in mind, I'm going to introduce the following resolution. Whereas the next general election for officers will be held on the 19th of March 2024, and whereas no person shall be entitled to vote at any village election whose name does not appear in the register for the election district in which he claims to be entitled to vote, and whereas it is the duty of the inspectors of election to prepare such register of qualified voters for the district for which they were appointed, and whereas section 15-118 of the election law of the state of New York requires that every village hold a registration day for each general village election unless the village has adopted a resolution abolishing voter registration day. Now therefore be it resolved that registration day for the village of Cornwall and Hudson shall be held on Saturday, the 9th of March, from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the boardroom of this village hall located at 325 Hudson Street, Cornwall and Hudson, New York, 12520. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Election inspector appointments.
You skipped over.
I'm sorry,
foil
what'd I
denial.
miss? What'd I miss?
Skipped over foil denial. Foil.
Yeah, you know what, let me
gonna
move
do
that
that to the
down.
end? That's
Yeah,
fine
I'm gonna
with me.
move that down. Don't let me forget that, Jim, thank you. I wrote it on here, but yeah, I'm gonna move it down after we go through the vehicle stuff. All right? Election inspector appointments. Village Clerk Wickizer has requested the following be appointed election inspectors for the upcoming March 19th election at a rate of $200 per day. Registration Day, Elsa Cameron as chairperson and Barbara Gabhart. Election Day table, Martha Diederich, Lauren Anderson, Marianne McInerney, and Phyllis Murphy, with alternates of Rita Panessa, Barbara Smith, and Barbara Flughaft. Election Day machine inspectors, Elsa Cameron and Barbara Gabhart. Field tech of the voting machine is Ray Taraka at a fee rate of $250 per machine. This is a $50 increase from last year. I'm gonna make a motion to accept these appointments. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Let's do the, all right, RFPs. So this village board has discussed this. I've had a number of conversations with the department heads for the village, and we have elected that we are going to, and I've also spoken about this with the attorney for the village. We are going to put out a request for proposal for all contractor positions to the village. That's attorney for the village, engineer for the village, that is the auditor for the village, that is for the tree service for the village, electricians for the village, plumbers for the village, excavators for the village, all the things. So right now, the DPW superintendent, the water superintendent are working with the village clerk to get the proposals prepared for those that they deal with. But is this going to happen before we do our appointments on April 1st? I don't know. I'd like for that to happen, but I also think it's fair to give a suitable amount of time once we get all the RFPs prepared, get them put out for people to submit. But we're gonna do this. I'm inclined to think we do it every 3 years. I know the board members probably have different views on, I think 1 year is too short a time. I think 10 years without an RFP is probably too long a time. Does everybody agree that we do it this year? And then at some point in time, we do need to establish what the frequency is for when we do this again.
Yeah, that's fine, I have no
Okay.
problem.
All right, so we're working on that, but just like the town, it's probably not gonna happen before April 1st. So as we work through that, we will make the reappointments on April 1st.
Do you mean issuance of the RFPs won't happen by then, or acceptance of and receipt of?
Great question, Bill. I think that the issuance could happen before then, but we will do due diligence in allowing an appropriate amount of time, so we will make the same appointments, and then if we make changes down the road.
Mr. Mayor, there's a date that's set in the draft minutes as to when the publication or solicitation for the RFPs would be due.
All right, so that's a great point. So why don't I just read that? All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to solicit by publication in the village's official newspapers or otherwise, requests for proposals or RFPs for the water, DPW, and clerk's departments. The services requested will be the following: plumbing, electrical, excavating, emergency sewer repair, tree management, engineering services, attorney services, auditor/accounting services, information technology services, and website design services. The clerk is hereby authorized and directed to prepare such publications or solicitations for the proposals, requiring that responses to the same be submitted no later than March 15th of 2024. So that will be before the April 1st appointment. So even if we receive those RFPs back, we're not gonna change anything before April 1st. So Bill, to your question, which is a good question. So we will have this requirement that they be submitted no later than March 15th. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes.
Sir?
Who bears the ultimate judge of the RFP?
The village board.
Okay.
So it'll be something where I'll get them in. Let's say hypothetically it comes in for the tree service and I get in 5. I will share them with you. We will probably have to hold a meeting to discuss those. We will do that, and then we'll make a determination, and we'll make that appointment. But it is a village board majority vote decision. Am I correct, Counselor?
Yes.
So, and it's not a super majority, it's a three vote majority. Okay, got it. All right, did I take the vote on that? All right,
Call it again.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Next thing, determination, Joe, this is gonna be your time to shine here. So, the Cornwall Yacht Club FOIL denial. So this is a determination of appeal of denial or access to records. So, no surprises, the Cornwall Yacht Club has FOILed, that's the Freedom of Information Law, for the state, for documents from this village. We have worked diligently to provide those to them. They're coming in from different avenues. They're coming in for the attorney, they're coming in for members, but they're coming in from the Cornwall Yacht Club, being directed to the FOIL officer, which is our village clerk, and then there's oversight, obviously, from the attorney for the village on these. I'm gonna stop there, Joe, and turn it over to you and let you handle the rest of it.
Sure, so there was, a FOIL request made by the yacht club's attorneys back in November. That was responded to at some point, I think, in early January. They objected to the fact that they could see that one page was missing from what was provided to them. And it was a page that I had reviewed with the clerk and I had advised should not be included in the FOIL response. And the clerk did not include it. The law firm, since that time, filed an appeal of the village clerk's determination not to turn over that single document. So this board sits as the FOIL appeal board. So I had prepared a memorandum to the board. I had prepared a draft determination of the appeal for the board to review, which we did review in attorney-client session. So at this point, the board should make a determination and take a vote on the appeal. The way that the appeal is drafted and the way that as the board reviewed it, the appeal or the determination would be to deny the appeal, meaning that you're upholding the village clerk's actions in withholding that document.
Okay, now, do I need to read this entire determination into the record, or just, what do you,
Oh, can I?
You mean the
is it
resolution?
the resolution?
So when you sent.
the whole thing? Let me just,
Yeah. You may approach, Counselor. Yes, right here.
You have to ask for that.
Yeah. If I don't, there'll be questions as to what's in it, so maybe I should.
yeah, no, that's.
Okay, just read it as is. Okay, all right, thank you,
Well, no,
sir.
this would be the motion, right?
This is the motion.
So, okay.
All right. All right, so I'm gonna make the following motion to approve the determination of the Board of Trustees denying the denying the appeal of FOIL 10-2023. Whereas the village clerk, the village's designated records access officer, received a request for records pursuant to the Freedom of Information Law from the law firm Whiteman, Osterman, and Hanna, LLP, or hereafter referred to as the requester, on or about November 22nd, 2023, and whereas the records access officer provided a response to the requester on or about January 23rd, 2024, and whereas a representative of the requester personally appeared at the village hall to accept the documents responsive to the request. And whereas at the time the representative was provided with the documents responsive to the request, the records access officer verbally advised the representative that one document requested was not available pursuant to the Freedom of Information Law, hereafter referred to as FOIL, because that document was a communication to the attorney for the village, and whereas on or about January 17th, 2024, the law firm of Whiteman, Osterman, and Hanna, LLP, hereafter referred to as the appellant, filed an appeal of the record access officer's determination to withhold release of the attorney-client communication. And whereas pursuant to Chapter 30, Section 7, subsection C of the Village Code of the Village of Cornwall and Hudson, FOIL appeals are heard and determined by the Board of Trustees. And whereas the Board of Trustees has reviewed the appellant's FOIL request, the response provided by the Records Access Officer, the single document for which access was denied, and the appeal filed by appellant, and after due consideration and deliberation thereon, the Board of Trustees hereby determines, 1, that the appeal of the determination of the Records Access Officer is hereby denied, and 2, that the determination of the Records Access Officer to preclude access to an attorney-client communication was proper and fully comported in all respects with the law concerning access to public records. And 3, the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes and directs that a copy of this decision on appeal and such further documentation as may be necessary be filed with the New York State Committee on Open Government. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Now, because I recused myself on weighing in with the board on this decision, do I recuse myself here too on the vote?
Well, I advised you earlier, there
I
was no
didn't need to.
no reason for you to recuse yourself, so it's completely up to you.
Okay, I'm gonna recuse myself. As I recuse myself from the decision, I'm gonna recuse myself on the vote, so it is a 4-0 vote to deny. All right, moving on to request to, we're taking the surplus one off, correct?
No, this, one of the surpluses, this
Got it.
surplus is
So the
happening.
request to surplus the 1992 Ford F-350 pickup. I'm going to make a motion to authorize the village board to declare the following vehicle surplus to allow us to list for sale. A 1992 Ford F-350 pickup with a VIN number of 1 Foxtrot Tango Hotel.
You don't need to do that.
You don't like
like
my,
it.
I do. It takes me right back to the Army.
Yeah, I know it does.
All right, so
You're on the-
with the VIN number that is so applied, with 19,435 miles on it, the foregoing motion seeks a second. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in
Surplus.
favor? Aye. 5 ayes and 0 nays. All right, purchase of a Case 821 G as in golf wheel loader. I'd like to make a motion to purchase a new Case 821 golf wheel loader for the Department of Public Works at the cost of $309,000 to replace a 2002 Case 721 C as in Charlie, X as in X-ray that will be surplused and eventually sold. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, yes.
Sorry, we voted quickly, but the recommendation from Superintendent Halverson is that we would bond the expense as well.
That's coming up.
Okay, sorry.
Yep.
Next.
Okay, so, all right, so we passed that resolution 5-0? Okay. Next issue is a resolution authorizing the issuance of $325,000 worth of bonds of the Village of Cornwall and Hudson in Orange County, New York, to pay the cost of the purchase of a Case 821 G as in golf wheel loader truck for said village. All right, I'd like to make the following motion. Whereas the capital project hereinafter described as proposed has been determined to be a Type 2 action pursuant to the regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation promulgated pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, or SEQR, which regulations state that Type 2 actions will not have any significant adverse impact on the environment. This is really long. Do I need to read this entire thing, or Jim?
Word for word.
Absolutely.
You want me to?
Dave wants you to.
All right, I'm gonna say that I'd like to put this in as per text. How do I do that?
As per document.
As per document. So I'm gonna make the motion that this goes in as per document and seek a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. Okay, next item is the purchase of an engine scanner to be shared between all departments. Two ends. I'm gonna make a motion to authorize the Village of Cornwall and Hudson to purchase an engine scanner to assist our fleet maintenance department with diagnosing and troubleshooting repairs to be made. Cost will be $14,535 to be shared amongst all departments, DPW, water, sanitation, police, and fire. The share works out to be $2,907 per department. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? The board has discussed this at length, but any further discussion?
Now, it was recommended by the superintendent of DPW and the water department to save us money, because every time we send a vehicle out, it's gotta get scanned initially anyway. So, am I correct? Yes.
It's gonna save money in the long run.
It'll pay for itself fairly
Yes, in the
quickly.
long run. Okay.
Good. All right, so, may I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next item is to schedule a public hearing for local law, property tax credit for ambulance and fire volunteers. Resolution of the Village Board of the Village of Cornwall and Hudson scheduling the public hearing to adopt a local law entitled, quote, exemption for volunteer emergency services personnel, closed quote. Let me see if I'm gonna read this. I don't think I need to. So essentially what this does is, if you are a volunteer, with a certain amount of time, and you are volunteering for Storm King Engine Number 2 or for Cornwall EMS, you would be entitled to have your property taxes in the Village of Cornwall on Hudson waived. Did I get that right?
It's a reduction.
A reduction, I'm sorry.
It's
I said waived.
10%.
All right, all right. I'm sorry, I'm getting punch drunk right now. All right, so a reduction of 10%, yes.
10% of the assessed value of property that is owned by the volunteer
It's
or.
actually an exemption, not a reduction. It's an exemption of 10% of the assessed value.
An exemption of 10%, so it's not a reduction, it's an exemption of 10% of the assessed value.
It would result in a reduction of the
Yes,
tax bill, but it
exactly.
would not be.
All right, we're splitting hairs. Okay, so I'm not gonna read this in. Does any trustee have any problem with this village board adopting this?
What, you just have to say when you're scheduling the public hearing.
Yes, of
That's the
course.
And actually, yeah.
So what's the date on this, Doris? Okay, so let me read the last line. Resolved that the village board hereby schedules a public hearing to consider the adoption of local law entitled, quote, exemption for, see, it says exemption for voluntary emergency services personnel, close quote, and to consider any potential adverse environmental impacts of the proposed action for February 26th, 2024 at 7 p.m. May I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Discussion on
Discussion.
Sir.
Discussion. So here's my understanding is that anyone who wants to take an election to reduce the taxes has to do so by March 1st, Mike? By March 1st. So we have to have this law in effect so that the people who are determined to be eligible for the tax exemption can apply. So, since our meeting is moved to the fourth Monday due to President's Day, there will only be 3 days, and because of leap year, we actually get an extra day. There will only be 3 days after the board adopts the local law to get it to Albany.
To get it what?
Get it filed in Albany.
So with your hefty salary you make as the mayor.
I thought you were saying the
you'd be willing
hefty
to
salary
drive
the
it-
attorney
You would
makes.
drive it up to Albany.
You go up to Albany all the time. This might work out perfectly for you.
no.
You work in Albany. Gentlemen and gentle lady, this should work out perfectly.
There is an alternative. The alternative would be to set the public hearing for the work session date.
So we can amend the motion.
So let's amend the motion to what, Counselor? February
Well-
26 would be, let me take a look at the dates here. February
You only have to give
26.
10 days notice for the.
So
for
you would
public hearing.
say, because the 19th is a holiday, we would have to do this on February 12th at the work session. Is that what you're suggesting?
Doris, can you get the notice in the paper?
Yeah, I can do it tomorrow.
Okay.
So then I'm
That-
gonna amend it. I'm gonna amend, you make the
I'll
amendment.
make the motion to amend the date of the public hearing from February 26th to February 12th at 7 PM at Village Hall.
All right.
Okay.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
And I just ask that if anybody's got any comments, please get them to me as soon as you can, because we don't have a lot of time.
All right.
Would it be suitable for the board to take a sort of straw poll at this point publicly so that anyone who is interested in applying for the partial exemption that would result in a reduction, have time to prepare those materials before the, so that when the law comes into effect, assuming that we pass it, they would have time to file for it.
Is that a state application, Joe?
Right now, we don't know. We've had some discussions about it.
I believe there's a form that
Oh.
actually has the title of the law
So
on the form.
this is done in
State
other
farm?
municipalities and other places.
It's brand new.
Okay, I didn't know
For
that.
everyone.
I thought it was just
Saw the
here.
form today, and then I gotta figure out what I gotta do to say who's out. I'm working on it.
Right. And when that form gets filed with,
Need a straw poll
Orange
if
County?
they were working on it already. to
Yeah.
make
yeah,
sure
we know, there's some moving parts here. We probably have to develop a form, confirm that it gets filed with Orange County. But if you're gonna schedule this for the work session date, if for some reason we couldn't finalize at that meeting, we still have then the extra time,
Agreed.
to the next meeting,
But-
you could adjourn it.
But I think this village board is gonna support this, so it's just a matter of
It's,
us, yeah, that's a straw poll, but us getting the,
the text correct.
yes,
Do
absolutely.
we have a ballpark figure of how many people we think are eligible?
In the village, it's fewer than a dozen.
Okay, that's good, in a way. It's good and bad. It's bad that we don't have more people.
Well,
It's good that
be recruiting.
there's
and,
less people to,
Yeah, it's, the bad part is
To
we
get
do
'em
have
on.
more people, but they're not homeowners in the village.
uh,
As they're young men and women
I get it.
who, as they enter their twenties and have to move elsewhere because.
Yeah,
They can't afford to live here.
expensive. Hopefully, this will help with that.
a little bit, yeah,
Okay,
100%.
No,
all right,
10%.
all right. So, do we take the vote already, or no?
Not sure.
we're not
No,
Wait, no,
we're
voting on
we're
the public
voting.
hearing,
On
sorry.
the public hearing. So.
Voting
I
to
already had a
amend the
second. We had-
date.
We had discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
This is to amend the date.
Okay, yep, we amended it to the 12th. Okay, moving on to other business. I know this is not on the agenda that you probably have in front of you. First thing, we are scheduled for the town-village joint special meeting Thursday night here, which is January 25th. That'll start at 7 o'clock. It will be live streamed. It'll be just like the one that we had on EMS, and it'll be like the first one that we had on water. This is our second one. And again, as I've told Judge McKay, the most important thing is that we do execute the IMA that night, the intermunicipal agreement that has never been executed since 1895, when we started delivering a pure and abundant supply of water to the town, close quote. We will execute that IMA, meaning our board will vote on it, the town council will vote on it, and then we'll move to two more difficult issues, which will be property tax exemptions and water sales. But so that meeting will be on Thursday, so that's on,
Snow date for that meeting, or?
there
no?
better not be snow. Who
Okay.
said snow?
Well, I don't know.
Dave?
Halverson didn't
Snow
hear you,
expected
so-
for Thursday?
Okay.
Snow expected for Thursday? Mike's shaking his head. We should be
No.
good.
Rain.
All right, all right. Rain
Rain
well, I
all
don't wanna
week.
say rain we can deal with. We gotten too much of that. Okay, so that's
Ben.
that.
He's pretty
Other business. Hey, Bill, anything to add on the electric vehicle charging stations? By the way, I'll say this, the town, who's got a huge head start on us, theirs are still not ready to start giving juice out.
Yeah.
They're,
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
Raised?
yeah.
Yeah.
They're installed,
Yeah,
but they're not
they're there, but they're
delivering
not
juice.
powered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not powered.
The good news from my seat is that all of it is in other people's court. I've the three potential vendors that I've approached are Integra Energy, the New York Power Authority, and the Real Term Energy. Each of them have
Which
promised
did the town go with?
Real Term.
Real term.
They went with Real Term.
What is their term?
Each of them is Real Term is going to resubmit. Integra, I spoke to them last week and provided them the data that they needed from us to understand what we were talking about. They're going to provide something. And NYPA, we spoke a little while just before the holidays, and so I pinged them again, and they're working on some response. I've also talked to Central Hudson and walked the site with them. That was apparently premature to some extent, but all of the vendors basically will factor in the EV Make Ready program. I don't know if it's an exemption, a discount, a rebate, or a reduction, but the incentive that is channeled through the utility for the installation of any necessary infrastructure. So the prices that we see will include that incentive, which should be static from offer to offer.
Probably
So-
find out from the town exactly what they were,
Excellent.
right, Bill?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Real Term shared with me some of what
Yeah.
they thought the total was for the town. I've been talking to the town just to understand.
Okay. Excellent. And let's shift gears a little bit while I got you on the hot seat, Bill. You and I and Dan Poindexter and Scenic Hudson are meeting at
Thursday
at 3:00 at the Donahue Farm property to look at some of the areas where the water is coming off the mountain and obviously the damage that happened to Mary Donahue's house and what potential future remediation could be. I think that's the entire focus of this meeting. So we'll do that and we'll report back to the board, but we're doing that at Thursday at 3:00. All right, excellent. All right, before I moved on to the franchise agreement, which I'm gonna have Jim Kane speak to, want to make mention about Treetop. So obviously, if you're on social media or you just happen to live in the village or the town of Cornwall, you're familiar with Treetop, which is a project that is under consideration by the town's planning board and related to a piece of property, heavily wooded property on the other side of 9W. So the west side of 9W. In relation to a warehouse project that is being, again, considered by the town's planning board, and obviously has gotten a lot of heated response on social media and through other outlets. Last week, and all five of us, the village board, in one way or the other, was in attendance or following along the meeting that the planning board had on the DEIS, the Draft Environmental Impact Survey or Statement? Study.
Statement.
Study. Is it study or statement? I forget which it is. The DEIS, the Draft Environmental Impact Statement. So it was about 1,000 pages. I did do a dutiful amount of work to get through 100 of them. I know that Jim Kane and Bill Brain were able to grind through more than that. I have been in almost constant contact with Joshua Wojciechowski, the supervisor for the town, Assembly Member Ekus, who is our Assembly Member for the 99th District, and obviously just talking to residents and their concerns about, what the board's position is, what my position is, this, that, and the other. The board is not a lead agency right now on any matter that is being considered. The board does have lead agency status as related to water. We are not. You're dragging your microphone over slowly and grimacing and wincing, and I hate to see you wince.
We are an involved agency. The town board.
Involved agency, not lead agency. I used lead.
Right, so because the lead agency would be the town, because they are the body that has the actual final approval authority.
Right, and for them, it's related to strictly zoning, because they have a planning board and a zoning board of appeals. They would make a determination on whether or not there were any zoning changes. The town itself would not weigh in on any requested variances. Am I correct, Counselor?
No, they would have.
I think the town would have to
No,
vote
well,
on the zoning change.
The town would act on the zoning change.
But not the request for variances. That would go before the planning board.
There's a
Unless-
height variance they're requesting, and then there's a change of one of the two portions of the parcel from highway commercial to PCD.
But that's a town matter because
Right.
it's a zoning change.
Right.
What I'm saying is the request for variances, those things. There's two substantial ones that are being put forward. That's still in the hands of the planning board, correct? And they have their.
Zoning Board of Appeals.
Zoning Board of Appeals, right.
But I understand Bill's point, which is if you needed a variance, you could ask the town board when you're doing the zone change to
Got it.
change the bulk requirement in that zone.
Got it.
So you could handle it either way.
Got it. So last, Bill, what day was that? Wednesday.
The 17th.
Last Wednesday, there was a meeting at Cornwall Central School District at the high school, because there were probably, what do you gather, 200 plus?
Like 300.
You think it was 300?
How many it holds?
Yeah, so there was a substantial turnout of folks to this meeting. A number of people spoke, local politicians, hydrologists, environmentalists, citizens that were just, concerned about whether it was traffic or zoning changes or impact to the characteristics of Cornwall. So at this juncture, the village board, I don't plan, and I'm happy to entertain this from any of the trustees, on issuing a statement. I didn't speak that night because I have my own personal opinions, but I didn't think I wanted to represent the village board per se when this is a matter in the town, and the process is gonna play itself out with the ZBA, the planning board, the town. And obviously, when it comes to us, and I've spoken to Michael Trainer about this a few times, the village board will weigh in with our water superintendent's advisements on, what we think about the proposed project as it's currently laid out and whether or not we could supply water to it and do it. So I'm gonna let the process play out. I don't see a need for the village board to vote on it, pass a resolution. Not that anybody up here is suggesting that, but there have been some residents to say, Jimmy, why aren't you doing something? Why isn't the village board saying we don't want this? I don't think it's our place to do this right now. I tell people all the time, get informed. I know people follow things on social media and on Facebook. Go to these meetings, talk to the elected politicians who have oversight of that. The village, it's not in the village. Would it impact us? Certainly. Is there a place for us to weigh in when it comes to the water piece? Certainly. And if it gets further along the process, and I think that there was a request for an extension of the DEIS review process by Bill, was it 30, 60 days? I forget what
They passed 30 days, but
30
there
days.
seems to be some confusion about the time.
So they're looking to
I think
extend
it's
the.
February 16th is the current.
Because residents rightfully said, how are we gonna weigh through 1,000 pages and it's all legalese and trying to determine, what's what. So, yes, we are interested. Yes, we are following this. The town is holding a meeting tomorrow night. I will be there at 5:30 for the meeting. They're holding a meeting to discuss public comments that were made at the meeting on Wednesday and to get feedback from town residents that weren't able to be at that meeting, and the town council will be discussing this. I will be there. I'm sure that the rest of the village board will follow along in some way. If they're not there, they'll follow along because there'll be a live stream to that meeting to find out what's going on. So that's kind of my position on it as far as whether or not we should be pounding the table one way or the other, because there are people that are in support of the project. Why? It brings ratables and lowers your taxes. There are people that are against it, and why? Because it's gonna mean clear-cutting trees and removing green space in a community where we pride ourselves on green spaces. So I get all the angles, I've looked at it, I've talked to tons of people, and I'm happy to engage on it. I just didn't see at this juncture a need for, or a place for this village board to weigh in and say, we're voting against it. I don't think that's appropriate at this juncture, and I'll open it up for any other board member that might have a position on it.
I agree. I don't think we need to make a statement. Not at this point. Premature.
Dave, Bill?
I'll comment at the end on my personal, non-representative,
Sure.
feelings
Sure.
on it.
Okay, all right. Anything else on Treetop at this juncture? No? Hearing none. Jim, help me out here with the proposed franchise agreements with Verizon and Spectrum, and the fact that you've read through this and obviously talked to, who's handling it in your office? Is that to Dave Decker? You've talked to Dave Decker on the old wires and Fios and all that stuff.
So there's two agreements, there's Verizon and Spectrum. We're only gonna talk about Spectrum because Verizon has been non-responsive at this point with Dave. So with regards to Spectrum, we've come a long way. We've made some changes to it. It's all good. The one thing that we wanted to include in there was a removal of excess or unused wires or cables that you might be seeing hanging down. They could or could not be Spectrums, they could be Verizon. Spectrum came back, it's really Charter, but Spectrum came back and they said they're not comfortable with the wording that we had. Because we asked that upon request, that they come in at their own expense, Spectrum come in at their own expense to remove any of the older excess cables. They weren't comfortable with it because what they explained was that when a customer disconnects, they leave the drop in case it needs to be reconnected with a new person. Makes sense, business decision, got it. They also might dispute over whether something is being used. Again, makes sense. And that whether the, I don't see about the property who left it by another provider. Oh, and then the question came up as well, how do we know who left it? It could have been left by another provider. Okay, makes sense. So they don't want to go down that road. So, and Dave and I were speaking about this. Really, what Spectrum wants us to do is say, you go out and you identify which locations where there is unused or excess wire that needs to be respooled or cut off. All right, well, we're a third party here. We're not contracting with Spectrum individually for what this agreement is, but it's not for individual connections to people's houses. So I don't think it's inappropriate for the village to start now having to going around and identifying which homes need to have their wires fixed. That shouldn't be ours. We do that for them, then we have to do it for Verizon. Then you get Central Hudson involved, and it spirals. I don't want to be a third-party contractor for someone else that should be doing their job anyway. So really what it comes down to is, Dave and I spoke about it. He was reaching out to council today. I just checked my email. They haven't gotten back. They're actually pretty responsive. And my first question was, okay, let's find out if Spectrum's gone through this before. Is there a similarly situated municipality that's asked about this? And if so, what was the response? How did they deal with it? The other thing is that, well, maybe why don't we do this? Why, at least at a minimum, I threw this out, is since we don't want to get involved in identifying this, then there should be an affirmative obligation on Spectrum to notify each one of their in each one of the people, residents or has an agreement with them, that they need to be notified on an annual basis that, hey, here's the number you call. And to get your wires, unused or excess wires removed. At least we're doing something on behalf of the residents. We're forcing them to do that. He's throwing it out there, but right now we're waiting to find out. So maybe there's another way that they've dealt with the municipality, but I don't know. They're going to push back on this. We're not going. I don't want to get into the game of. I don't think we should get into the game of identifying. That's not our job. That's their job. So again, we're in waiting pattern, and this is only part one. Part two is Verizon. So that's another one.
I agree with the process for this particular agreement, but just since we're talking, I guess that the desire on the part of the residents to solve this problem arises from the aesthetic concern. You walk down the street and you see a nest of wires somewhere. So two thoughts arise. One is we don't know if those are Spectrum, Verizon, or an old provider,
right,
no longer active. The other thing is that I think we'd have, if we were able to open the reporting up to the residents, I think we'd have no shortage of people who would identify the spots that they're concerned about, right? Like say, yeah, it's right there. It's that one, it's that one, it's that one. It's probably 10, 15 spots on Hudson Street and wherever. Maybe the iWork platform or something that we already have where citizens can put in like requests and repair requests and complaints, or, we have a platform to like track it. I mean, maybe it's
about the iWorks thing. I mean, I don't know
Bad
how.
idea.
Did that already start our iWorks in regards to that? I know we had an add-on to it.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I have to look into that.
Manny, was there any, I know we were gonna set up some kind of citizen input aspect, right?
We have that in there. We haven't opened it up to the general public. We're planning to do it real soon. That is something that could come in as a complaint, by now,
Right.
monitor.
Right. Yeah.
Worth maybe considering.
Yeah, I know. And then I get it. On the one hand, it sounds logical. then on the other hand, I'm saying to myself, well, now once again,
We're
it's,
in the-
we're the responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
responsible.
but if it came in as a complaint, at least if we could log it in, we could explain to the resident that here's the information, you have to make the call.
Yes.
It's an
Maybe,
administrative.
look, could be a combination
Task
of that,
force.
is the iWorks, and also that the company does an annual notice.
Once it comes in as a complaint to us, now we are responsible to take action on that complaint. If we just let the
Well, if it's a
owner know-
complaint within our purview,
Yeah,
somebody
only
can.
if it
that's
violates
not-
the law or
Right,
something.
it has
yeah.
to be in our purview.
That's not in your jurisdiction.
That's what I'm saying, but we are telling them, go
You
to
would have to
this.
respond to it, and let the resident know.
We are exactly,
We're,
yeah.
there's only so much, we're not gonna climb up a telephone pole and pull it down.
And it could be on our website, like you got complaints about, your Spectrum and Verizon in regards to your wire, here's the number to call. I don't know, this.
Announce it at every village board meeting.
Yes. So, look, we're getting there, so just, I know this is boring stuff, but.
It's not, but it's important. It's been a long slog, and I appreciate you tackling it.
Yeah, we'll let you know next meeting.
Okay. All right, real quick on Mountain Road remediation, thanks to Dave and Mike, we had another meeting was it last week? It was last week with FEMA. FEMA's been pretty responsive. It's just that to get anything done with FEMA, the work to get it done, it's a nightmare. And these guys are doing the bulk of it, so trust me, I see what's involved in it. But we are working on that. This week, like I said, our focus has been on water, as it should, but the other big thing that we have right now in the village, one of the big infrastructure issues, is storm water mitigation and what we're gonna do with it. And that's gonna be the next water system. That's gonna be our next, excuse the pun, our next Waterloo, because people want the storm water moved off their property. We're having more and more of these hyper-localized storms. They're dumping volumes and volumes of water in places at one point in time. They're not moving, and then we gotta figure out a way to move that water off people's properties and get it down to the Hudson River. It's a huge issue. So that is gonna be the next thing. We're tackling water right now, meaning the water we delivered to people, but I'm telling you, our next frontier in this board is gonna be stormwater management. Our drains aren't big enough, our culverts aren't big enough, our system, which was put in place 100 years ago, and
That's not true for every culvert.
some of the culverts work.
I'm just saying that you're making a generalized statement that every culvert is not the right size. Incorrect.
So Dave, how many culverts do we have that are box culverts that are the ones that we're moving to in the village?
Unknown.
Off my head, I can't give you an
Okay.
answer to that
So-
question, but
so-
to make a statement that the system isn't good enough
No.
is not a good statement. The system that is in place is designed for a 100-year storm, is what engineers designed for.
Yeah.
If you go outside of that box, you want to design for a 500 or a 1,000-year storm. You're talking about putting in stuff like you saw in the movies in California where they drive the cars in them
Right.
and race them when there's no water running. We could have those on Mountain Road.
I got you. It's fair, and I have my 3 attorneys that are properly advising me. I'm saying this. Since December 23rd of 2022, we have had 4 storm events that you've lived through, and so are the people on this board and everybody here have lived through. Every one of those storms, and the governor called July 9th, 2023, a 1,000-year storm, but all 4 of those storms overwhelmed things. And whether you call them 100-year, 500-year, or 1,000-year storms, what I'm saying is, in 1 year, from December 23rd of 2022 to December 17th and 18th of 2023, January 11th of 2024, we've had 4 storms. All of them overwhelmed things. So I get it. The drains are put there to manage the normal course of our weather events.
In different
4
areas.
in 1 year.
In different areas were
Should we-
affected differently.
All right, I hear what you guys are saying, but what I'm saying is, we have to look at this and start planning and addressing this, because 4 in 1 year, 4 in 12 months and 13 days, is that the new normal, or is that, Jimmy, that's a 1,000-year storm? 4 in 1 year. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
So We
We
just,
also went 700 days without half
Snow.
an inch of snow.
The new norm.
We shouldn't buy salt.
Changing.
gotcha, I got you.
To that end, I was reading the most recent issue of Municipal Matters, which shows up in my mailbox thanks to the clerk's office. And there's FEMA hazard, what do they call it? I just wrote it down.
Mitigation.
Yeah, it's hazard reduction funding. I don't know if we qualify, but it sounds like they have a program that is designed
Do we qualify
to
for
do.
hazard reduction, what is it called?
It's hazard reduction funding from
Do we-
FEMA. And I don't know what conditions have to be in place for you to qualify to receive it, but it's proactive hazard mitigation is the idea.
I've
And
applied for a couple of hazardous mitigations over the years that we did not qualify for, one of which was Shore Road.
okay.
What was the reason why we didn't qualify for it?
CSX, one of the main ones.
Okay. I didn't know if it was a median income issue or something like that.
Tunneling under the railroad.
There's that piece of it. Got it. Okay.
What we have to remember is we're putting the water into the river, but it still has to go under the railroad. And those culverts there are designed for a 100-year storm.
Okay, all right, let's move on to,
100-year, as
100
engineers
years.
designed.
yeah, let's move on to, for your information, again, January 25th, Thursday night, here in this very room, 7 o'clock, Village and Town Joint Special Meeting on the water system, and it will be live streamed. If you're not here in person, you want to watch it, it will be uploaded to our YouTube page so you can watch it after the fact. February 12th at 7 p.m. is the next Village Board work session, and I guess we're going to have a public hearing that night on the firefighter deal. And then February 19th is President's Day, so the village office will be closed here, which is a Monday. And February 26th is our next village board meeting here at 7 p.m. And with that, I think I've covered everything on the agenda and everything
On the
added.
January 25th meeting.
Yeah, Thursday.
Will there be snacks at that meeting?
Dave, have you ever known me to throw a party and not make sure that everybody was
I wanted
satiated?
to bring it up in case you don't
There,
have time.
I have the deputy village clerk, the clerk's office is on it, and yes, there will be something small to nosh on.
I'm sorry, I think you said this 5 times, but
Yes.
is that here? The
We'll
joint
be here.
meeting?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just like it was set up the last time. So there'll be some of us up here, and most of the board will be on one side, the council will be on the other side. Obviously, Mike, our engineer, will be here, and council will be here as well. So it's gonna be a full house. Yes.
Both councils?
Oh, yes, both councils. Well, that's up to Josh to bring his, but he does know that he's invited. And another FYI, the village election, which I believe is on a Tuesday always, right?
March 19th.
Will be held on March 19th, Tuesday, March 19th. Keep in mind that I don't want to say new anymore because we've been doing it a few times, but the village election will be from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. So 15 hours of election glory. So, yes. Okay, with that said, I'm done. I'm going to go around the dais. Oh, we do have to do public comment. All right, public comment. Anybody in the public wish to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to go around the dais, starting with trustee Paleota.
We start with me.
You always start with the junior.
Yeah. I don't have much to share. In thinking about, I appreciate our focus on the spectrum lines. I know it's something that we just keep talking about, and it's going slow, and it's frustrating. But on my property, we have to bury our lines. And the difference is amazing. And my son has brought it up now as we drive through town, and I just find it really important. I mean, it's part of that.
Aesthetic.
Yeah, it's the essence of, driving through our, yeah, it means a lot. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Trustee Brain.
As always, I don't itemize my gratitude to the various village departments and staff for all the work that you do, but thank you. On the treetop matter, I've, as the mayor said, so speaking personally as a resident, as a village trustee, but not obviously on behalf of the board, I'm preparing comment to submit to the town planning board, but to summarize it, I believe that the combined scale of the project and the intensity of the proposed use weigh against the planning board granting the special use permit for planned industrial development within the PCD zone, and against the town board granting the zoning change from highway commercial to PCD that they've requested, and the height variance. That's partly because, as I said, the scope of the it's 197 acres. They want to maximize the build out. It's the largest such development around, and I think that the amount of traffic that would be generated by it and the amount of removal, the topographical issues, the ecological issues, et cetera, they all weigh against it at that size. The applicant is requesting a special use permit to be able to do a warehousing project there. And the reason that special use is not in the default zoning for that space is because depending on the intensity and the impact, you might not want to grant it. So at the moment, based on what I've read, which is not everything, as the mayor said, it's slow going, especially if you're not an expert, but using my brain as best I can. And then, as noted by the planning board consultants in the meeting at the high school, there were some deficiencies in the DEIS. Let me rephrase, maybe not deficiencies, but there were some areas of the DEIS that could have been explored more fully and responded to more fulsomely and with mitigations that would actually address some of the issues. So I think that obviously it needs a lot more work before it could be submitted to be considered as for a final environmental impact statement. So that's just my comment on it. I'm glad that the board is taking a look. We are involved in SEQRA as an involved agency. I'm gonna work with all the parties involved to understand with a little greater clarity when the village board is, presumably if the decision gets made to extend the water system to supply water to that site, we would presumably have to vote on that. So I would want to understand exactly when in the process we might do so. And I appreciate all I've gotten a lot of comments from residents who are, for the most part, against it with varying degrees of specificity. And I appreciate everybody making their opinions known. I'd be glad to hear any more if anybody has any, pro or con. So thanks very much.
All right, thank you. Trustee Cornwright,
I second that emotion. I think that
there's a song
Smokey
there.
Robinson said that. And we will have standing, so we have standing. We'll have not only water, but we're as close to the firehouse as the town is. So if anything major happens there, we'll be involved, so. But I think Bill said it all.
All right. Deputy Mayor Kane.
I have nothing, just with the exception of treetop, and that is, it's gonna come before us, and at that time, we'll do our due diligence, speak to the water superintendent. As a board, we'll make a decision. I'm already read up on most of it, I've been to the meeting. So at that time, we'll make our appropriate decision. We can each voice our personal opinion if it differs from the board's decision. But at this point, I just want the process to continue the way it is, and when it comes to us, we'll address it.
Excellent, and I'll just remind everybody, especially my colleagues on the board, if you're available tomorrow night, 5:30, Town Hall. If you cannot be there, you can watch it online. But it'd be a good way to get caught up on what the town's position is, since it's not the lead agency. Is it simply involved agency, Joe, or are they actually considered the lead agency, the town?
The town board would be the lead, town
agency.
planning board.
Planning board's the lead.
Planning
agency.
board, but the
They
town
are
is
the
an
lead
involved agency.
It would be. I mean, I haven't seen the paperwork
Got it.
because it's also a rezoning issue.
Yep.
My belief is that the planning board would be the lead agency, and everybody pretty much is an involved agency.
So anyway, if you're interested and you can make it, or if you can't, you can watch it. And if you can't watch it tomorrow night, it'll be available on YouTube. You can go back and watch it after that. So with that said, thanks for everybody's help. Tonight was a big deal. We got the budget off of our plate that passed, so that is a huge thing. And now we'll move on to other matters, and I hope to see folks on Thursday night at the Water Committee meeting. With that said, any alibis from any of our department heads? Anybody? Yes, sir, Chief.
As a guy who used to climb telephone poles for a living, the PSC
Yeah. The commission.
Not for negotiating, the
They actually have to approve the contract.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
that's
they're-
one of the provisions.
They're
that-
also the agency of complaints.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah.
So if you call Verizon, they don't take down their wires, PSC tends to get it.
Pretty good at
Yeah,
that.
good point, Troy.
They
All right.
also approve all the rate increases too.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right, without further ado, I'm gonna make a motion to close the meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Keep in mind, until Doris blacks that out over there, we're still live, so keep in mind the microphones are hot.
It's an app called Voice Memo.
So we won't have the meetings then.
No,
Doris, let me know when that's dead.
Otter or one of those does, right?
no, I don't, I just use I use that to adjust my
Probably because there's more
minutes.
people.
have to read it and redo it.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, Mike?
We're gonna be okay.
I kind of already have it done. This just helps me jog my.
Oh, I
memory.
see. So
You don't need
just-
a transcript, you just
Yeah.
need.
How's the hip doing?
There is
Great.
a.
The other one's starting to
there
hurt
is
because I'm
an app,
noticing it
Otter.
now.
That's what I'm saying, now you got the bionic hip and now the other one's going.
I walked all over
It
town
has to
today.
hear well.
You've been doing a lot of moving around, I thought you
Yeah.
were gonna be gimping a little bit more, but
Use
not
it,
moving.
I walked
it
to,
transcribes what you say.
I walked from
into
home to
text.
here and then
The town does
back
verbatim
down,
minutes.
You need a
physical
ride
therapy, got lunch. No, I drove here
Scanner.
for this.
Yeah, but we
'cause I
don't
would've
do
been-
that.
I know.
Brain-
Yeah, so
brain-
Did you stand up for the regular meetings too?
No.
Oh,
We
well,
don't.
planning board you do.
Oh,
Like the other
that's
night.
Robert.
That's the Roth, right?
Yeah, yeah.
She's good. I mean, that's what she does.
Who's the young fellow in the back?
Those minutes.
That's our,
Oh, that's, oh, man, he looks different. I
I
hadn't
hadn't met
seen him in a long time. He worked for the village for a short time.
I hadn't met him, I saw him with
No,
his,
I'm sorry.
He's a good guy.
his badge on.
So he's working, so he stops in to see what's going on in the meeting, that's Jimmy Moore.
All right.
Just be careful until we're making sure that we're done here. You're gonna take care of that matter,
I'm tired.
correct? And advise them what we decided as a board to do.